Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Galactic Astrology podcast. My name is Ursula, and I'm joined today by the podcast co-host, Julia Balaz. And as many of you know, Julia is the creator and founder of what's called the Quantum Soul Guidance Practitioner's certification course. Today, Julie and I are so excited. We have another graduate who's made it through this incredibly rich and deep experience. So we're here today to congratulate Deborah Angeline. Congratulations and welcome, ladies.
Woohoo, congratulations. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I've been looking forward to meeting you both.
Likewise.
Well, we are meeting on a very auspicious day. It happens to be Deborah's birthday. Plus, we're still in this rich energy of the Aries new moon solar eclipse. So this idea of the light, embracing the dark and this balancing of how do we navigate in this new energy field. And it's pairing with Pluto, the god of the underworld. So I have a feeling as we called in our star families and guides and higher selves before we started this recording, it'll be fun to see how this idea of light and shadow shows up in our conversation. But before that, happy birthday, Deborah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm so amazed how this podcast was rescheduled a couple of times, and unbeknownst to us that today will fall on the eclipse or the day after the eclipse, and that hits the midheaven in your astrological natal chart, which is all about expansion, service to the public, connecting with the world. So just amazing, divine
Perfection.
timing.
Yes, perfectly divine.
Well, we would, of course, love to start our little chat by getting to know you a little bit better, Deborah. I read a little bit about your biography, and I'm just going to call out a few words. Mm-hmm. You're a hypnotherapist, an intuitive soul coach, a dream shaman, a mother. You work with essential oils, the divine feminine, and now certified as a galactic astrologer working with the Quantum Soul Guidance program. So take us to the beginning of your path. And I know you've had this amazing moment in your youth.
So I grew up in an area of the Northeast that along a specific chain of mountains in the Appalachians that is known for UFO high strangeness and different contact and sightings. And so growing up in that environment and living only like 20 minutes from those locations along this ridge, it was just always in my consciousness that we weren't alone. It was never a question. And then when I was in my late teens, my mother and some family members were sitting on the deck. It was the summertime, it was beautiful. And all of a sudden, this massive cigar-shaped craft comes moving across the field above just treetop level, right over us. I could see the underbelly. And what struck me then is the sound that it made, which was hardly anything at all. It was just like a very light whirring noise. And I could see the lights, and we just stood with our mouths, some of us were standing with our mouths open, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it just floated gently and went across the field, and my mother freaked out. The first thing she did was call the police, which, I don't know what they were going to do, but it was just so funny. We were just amazed. So that after that experience, there was just, there were other sightings. And also this area there's a famous abduction case. I don't know if you heard of Whitley Strieber. He was abducted in that area. And I think there's been a book written about it. And he grew up and lived not far from that location. But yeah, so there's just been this energy of knowing that we're not alone. And so I've always been drawn to anything that lies beyond our reality, pretty much. So fast forward, and I, have done a lot of work on myself. I used to be in corporate. I was a teacher. I've done many different things. And probably in my mid-30s is when I really started to work with my soul, my introduction to who I really was. And that came through a series of dreams. And from there, I just dove right in and started to really work with, I think for me, the vehicle that has been the most powerful to my own awakening and enlightenment, or, raising of my frequency, has come through the dream state. And I've done different, I've studied different people, but really I feel like my soul, my higher self, and the memories from my soul really were teaching me about my entire experience beyond, not only past life experiences, but other places. I would dream about places. So it was really profound, and I loved it. And it was almost, it was exciting. I have like a whole box full of just dream journals for like 25 years, just really trying to figure out what are the symbols? What do they mean? And I got really good at it. And next thing you know, people are calling me, hey, I had this dream. So it just kind of evolved. And when I was going through my own healing process from a childhood trauma, I started doing regression work. And I was so fascinated with the process that I became certified back in the 90s as a hypnotherapist, and, have worked kind of part-time, but, helping people to uncover their own stuff or whatever they were working through. So it's been a really wonderful journey. I've had the right people at the right time just come and help guide me, the right books, just a lot of synchronicity and divine guidance. And so when I came across, I think the whole galactic piece started really to come in about, for me, 2016, 2017 is when that whole, like, all of a sudden there were people out there talking, and it was, that's when, and the other thing I want to say is that my guides and my star family started working with me years before, probably at least 10 years before I started dreaming about them. And they came to me as animals just because of my connection to nature, being a Taurus and having studied shamanism. And so they came as animals, and mostly the felines. And so I now know who they are. And it was just wonderful. And I've just had so many incredible experiences. So then I came across, Julia, your interview on YouTube, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, I have got to do this. I just knew it, and I signed up right away. This was before you created the practitioner course. So I started working with the energy of that, and I dove right in. It was so fascinating and exciting. I have been a hobby astrologer for probably 10 years or so before that. So I kind of knew some stuff, but not to the extent that your course is. And I must say that having taken different courses over the years, your course is one of the most comprehensive instructional modules that I have ever encountered. It's really a model. So I've had dreams of creating my own course on dream work. And so your course is just such an incredibly comprehensive program. I loved it.
Thank you so much.
So in the beginning, when I started working with the course material, in the beginning, you taught us how to find our alignments manually, and also through the program that Hector had he had just put it up. And so I was getting one thing, and then I was looking, and I see this Draco alignment, and I had to read. I must have read that unit 5-6 times, because I thought something's wrong here. That I am not a reptilian. This can't be. I was so shocked at the results. I actually walked away from the course for probably a good couple months, at least a couple weeks. I go back, and then I would recalculate. I'm like, something's not right here. I don't feel that way. And maybe it was just my naivete about, what the reptilians represent, or the Draco itself. And then I went back and I watched one of your, I think there were 2 Q&A sessions. And as soon as you said dragon, something activated in me, and I was like, oh my gosh. And right after that, there were like 2 different synchronicities of dragon confirmation, and I was born in the year of the dragon. And it was like, oh my gosh, like this whole new aspect came online. And so it was not long after that I had a dream, and I had this experience in the dream that I really didn't understand. And I made an appointment. I had just had the dream, and then you were interviewing Araya and Ra, the dragon lady. So I made an appointment with her, and I did a session with her. And she was so incredibly helpful. She is like in tune, picked up my feline guide, like, always standing behind me. But she offered a different interpretation of the dream. And it was because during the dream, I had called in Archangel Michael for protection. But then I realized he's the black dragon. And so it was just so synchronistic. And so it was an activation. Like, that dream was an activation because I felt all this energy in my sacrum. And I feel like it was maybe at the beginning of a Kundalini activation or something. Something was activated, learning about the dragon lineage and my dream experience. And it's just been incredible ever since. So I feel I just feel very blessed to have learned the information. It's just so fabulous, and it's right up my alley.
My goodness. So there are so many different avenues I could take, as there are so many incredible portions of the share. Oh, wow. But with regards to I'll start with the goosebump that I had when you were talking about Archangel Michael activation and how he came through in your dream as a dragon, right? And then the dragon synchronicities. Did you experience a dragon in the dream, or?
In the dream, it was an energy. It was a dark energy. And I didn't know it was a dragon, but it was luring me deeper. And I've had so many dreams that when I'm in a place where I don't feel safe, I know how to slip out the side door. It's just something I naturally do. But when I started to come, it was in that in-between state, that wonderful, wonderful in-between state where everything happens right before you wake up. And I knew that I had left the dream and I was in that twilight, and all of a sudden I felt an energy, and I felt like whatever it was following me. And I thought that it was like an attack. And that's how I interpreted it. And then that's why I called in Archangel Michael. And so what Araya had, pointed out is that he was that darker energy because he's the black dragon. And, and after that said, I mean, I've known for a while that I'm here to work with the darker, I don't want to say darker energies, but the heavier energies, and just in some of the work that I'm doing and some of the programs I'm developing right now, it's really, even the clients that come to me have heavy like 8th house energy. So it's just something that I have always been drawn to.
So would you say that experience perhaps allowed you to maybe clear some limiting negative association with darkness and recognize the difference between darkness and darkness?
Yes, like there is a difference between different types of darkness, for sure. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then, trying to balance that again, like what you said, Ursula, the light and the dark. And I see a lot of that polarity, not only in my own life, in my son's life, and a lot of the clients, it's just clear, that when I look at the polarities within their charts. So, yes.
It's so interesting, isn't it, that I'm sorry. It's so interesting that your Saturn is in the 8th house in Pisces, and Chiron, same thing. And I wondered if during any of your journeying through regressions, if you ever came across a lifetime where you've experienced your wisdom being punished, whether through religion or through like you speaking up and you helping others from compassionate philanthropic desire was punished by the powers that wanted to control humanity and keep them unconscious. You seem to be carrying that through your
Absolutely.
astrology. So was it validated through the sessions as well as through regressions?
That, and also I've had dreams. I've had a lot of my past life knowledge came from dreams, and so I've seen it and I felt it. So there is. And also the other thing that's a big trigger for me, and always has been, I didn't really understand it when I was younger, but as I got more information, and really part of this course helped me to understand that all that heavy energy from Orion, where the persecution and the severe restriction and the control, and how many of us are dealing with that is such a trigger. When I see something, whether it be a government decision or something happens where there's inequity and unfairness, it's such a deep trigger for me. And I have to remember, okay, that's what this is. And I just do my part to try to clear it. But I find that a lot of the people that are awake to and are hip to what's really happening with the world and the matrix of control and suppression and everything, freedom of speech, taking away our rights and so forth. A lot of those people have either the Black League, or they're a part of the Orion Black League, or they have a lot of Orion energy. And I feel like for us that have had those experiences, it's like, oh, we're so familiar with that energy, like we could see it quicker than many other people. And so I'll go ahead.
There's something beautiful here in your chart that really helps you to be a wonderful and transformational healer for those very patterns, because your Chiron is at 17 degrees of Pisces, which is squaring Orion within 1 degree, and then your Saturn in early Pisces is tightly conjunct Fomalhaut. So at this point of your soul's evolution, you're way past the many incarnations when you suffered and you really experienced it. You were deep down in those limited states where you were oppressed. But now the Fomalhaut star at your Saturn conjunct is helping you channel compassionate perspective that is much higher, that sees it from the whole of all that is, and seeing the gifts in disguise in all those previous suffering. So it's just wonderful to see that culminated in your wholeness.
I even see the Fomalhaut aspecting throughout my journey too. There's just been this layer of divine guidance and almost like a protection that I feel, because especially, with my childhood being so incredibly traumatic, people that know me, they're like, well, you don't seem like you're carrying that. And it's because I feel like of the divine, I had an ability to leave, and leave at the right time. And there's just been so much of that through my journey where it was hard, but I feel like I've had these resources and protection that have helped me to navigate that and to not succumb to the heaviness of it.
You don't dwell in it.
Yes. Yes, very much.
Wow. It's I could listen to you all day, Deborah, talk about those amazing stories that for my growing up years would be highly irregular. So I didn't live in a geography that had many sightings like that at all. So, but now it feels like with the earth shifting into this new photon belt of light, that more and more of us, regardless of the geography, may start seeing and experiencing things. So a couple of things I want to shout out before and add to this conversation before we move on is this idea of 25 years of dream journaling. That is remarkable for leaving a trail behind to help process, but it's from those very dark times, especially in the early childhood and adolescence. And this is what Julia teaches us with the fixed royal stars, that this is almost like to get to that level, it's like the darkest dark. So when we called in Pluto early on in the beginning of this, it's almost like having to go into the depths of hell, the 7 layers of Dante's hell, just when you think this is the darkest it can be. But this idea that it moved you into regression therapy, and then to find out is it this life? Is it past? What happened? So those questions seem to drive this desire to really know thyself and how to go forward. But the biggest thing, I think, is this redefinition of Draco. And this idea that, as Lisa Royal Holt speaks about in many of her books, this word era. Which era are we speaking of with Draco? Draco was the pole, Tubin was the pole star at one point in our ancestry. But to understand which era are you talking about? Are you talking about the reptilian area? Are you talking about the transformed era? So as if like we're talking about human beings, are they look at us. Well, are they talking about us in the caveman period?
Right.
Paleolithic? Right. No. Or industrial age? No. So it's looking at what era are we talking about? So I love that you turned to Araya for a reading, because that connection and conversation with Julia and Araya was like pivotal, and also perfect timing to talk about Draco, dragon, creator beings before time. Like it's like before, like quantum time.
Right.
Really want to honor that you brought that up.
And I love that interview, Julie. I was so thankful that you found her, because I needed that interview. I needed to understand. And also what was so beautiful, what I learned from her through my work with her, is that I live and have lived along if you look at a map, she has a special map of the like where the dragons that are holding the grids in the United States. And the air dragon is the entire spine. The spine of the air dragon is the Appalachian Mountains. And where I am is more in the, more near the heart chakra. And I just loved that. I thought, oh my gosh, because a couple of years ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago, I had a very specific dream where I was down above Georgia and I was looking at the Appalachians, and just from that vantage point, and there was somebody with me, and I was telling them, pointing to the Appalachians, saying, that is home. This is, that's my home. And just knowing, and I have such a love for the mountains, and they're just, the Appalachian Mountains are so, they're much older than the Rockies. And I feel like, this is my personal belief, that the Appalachians carry a very maternal, majestic energy. They are the female aspect, the divine mother aspect, whereas the Rockies, they're jagged, they're, rugged. That's more masculine energy. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but I love that when she showed me that map, and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. It just confirmed so many of the dreams that I've had and information. I just loved it. And so, yeah, thank you for having her. It just was wonderful.
Yeah, during that time, I received so many emails and messages, people freaking out when they saw their Draco alignments in their chart. And I said, okay, let's just clear up the air. Yeah, I'm glad it was helpful. And she continues to provide amazing content.
Absolutely.
She brings the latest channelings of what is going on. There's just so much there. Yes. It's a really profound body of work that she's building so naturally and so effortlessly. It's really
absolutely. Yeah.
I'll leave a link for her in case anyone didn't understand Araya and Ra. It'll be in the video description.
And her book is really good too. It really explains the connection and the connection to Andromeda and some of the other star systems, and it kind of validated for me. I mean, I feel when I really looked at my own chart, I feel I actually had another dream before I took your course, and I was on Earth, and I was looking up at a separate spiral galaxy. And somebody was next to me, and I was pointing, and I said, that's home. Like, I guess I've had so many homes, but out there, that was my home. And when I did research, I just felt like it was Andromeda. And then when you came out with the course and I'm reading about it, I was like, oh my gosh, it just feels, and of course I've had a number of incarnations there, in my chart. And I feel really connected to that star system and the beings from that star system. So.
What a joy to actually put the names sometimes to the beings that have shown up in your dream time energetically. Yes. So doing the research, but Julia's calculator allows us to start, okay, well, this soul connection. Let's play with that.
Yes.
Speaking of books, I just wanted to call out Lisa Royal Holt's book, Preparing for Contact, that Julia, you talk about in the course as well. But this idea that our alien or ET contact may not always show up as a cigar-shaped craft. It can be as subtle as in our dream time, when our brain moves into the theta state, in particular, that deep dreaming as the doorway for engagement is what Lisa talks about. So I love how your dreams that you talked about early on first showed up as animals. Because an animal is, for us human beings, something that we've seen and know and can relate to. But when they show up as their alien form, that might move us into this idea of fear. So it's fascinating that you work with dreams as a dream shaman, but working with the brain states that we also learn about in Julia's class, whether it's going from beta, alpha, delta, theta, gamma. I mean, I'm no scientist, but I'm really starting to make the connection of when you do go into that theta state with binaural beats, it is the gateway for you to then move into a relationship. So once you see the names of your family, star families, names in the calculator, it's a greater way to say, okay, engagement.
Absolutely.
Do you have any comment on that, Deborah, as far as the brain's activity and dreaming?
Well, I think it's the same. When you're in the dream state, you're connecting. You're at a deeper. Your brain is at a deeper level, and you're connecting into the astral plane. When we dream, it's usually in I believe, the fourth dimension, which is the astral plane. That's where a lot of the activity happens, and I find that there's two periods when we can remember our dreams. You either have it when you're first going down into the dream state, or like at night when you're sleeping, or right before you come up. And for me, the magical time is in that in-between state when you're just coming up to consciousness, and you are in those deeper brain states. And when you're listening to the binaural beats, one of the things I learned from a dream shaman, a dream coach, is that, when you dream, when you meditate, when you're just out in nature, the dream state is just another reality. It's as real as this reality, like us having a conversation. So when you dream, that's a different reality, and it's just in a different, state, a different dimension, and that is how that multidimensionality, working with your dreams, you can really enhance that aspect of yourself. For me, it was just life-changing. And I just think that it's an overlooked state of consciousness that people don't realize is valuable. And a lot of your star family, in my opinion, and in my own experiences and other people I know, they come to you first in the dream state. Or if you're listening to binaural beats, sometimes people will have visions that'll come in. So when you're in those deeper states, that's when it's easiest for them to make contact. But I tell people, don't underestimate your dreams. And if you dream about a lion or an animal, you have to look at the symbology of it and what the meaning is, and then look at the context of the dream. But there's just it's so rich. It's just so fabulous. I love it. Rich.
Well, let's go check out your beautiful website, because if people want to find you, let's see, here you are, souljourns.com. I love that. So soul journeys, but you kind of made it into a cute little soul journs. The true journey is the one within. I love that. It's very vegan. Wouldn't you say, Julia? Very Lyra Vega.
It actually, the name came from a dream many years ago. So of course, and I just heard the word soul journs, and I realized, well, that's what I'm on. I'm on my own soul's journey, and just really exploring that. So that was the basis for the whole concept of soul journs. And I had a different website, but after I became certified and I was working towards certification, I retooled it, and loved it.
So beautiful, really beautifully done.
Isn't that gorgeous? Look at this galactic
It really engages the subconscious with all that beautiful imagery.
Yeah, it was fun to put together.
As I just read that glimpse of testimonial, as I was reviewing your certification documents and reading your clients' feedback, I felt strongly inspired to start with our Galactic Astrology or Galactic Ambassadors podcast, to start including at least top 3 testimonials that you guys are getting, because every certification, I don't know, we had over 40 now, they all are just mind-blowing. What the people write back to the practitioners is just, they're all so transformational by the words of the client. So I'm gonna start actually inserting them in the comment section, so people can see the referral from or review from other person's experience with your sessions. Yours are really just astonishing, really beautiful work with your reports.
Thank you. Yeah, the reports, like you said, when I first started doing them, it would take me days to do them. And I, having been a teacher in the past, I tend to be more thorough and put more information in there. And but I have to say, the information, people are just so hungry for this information, and what you created is so incredibly timely. And it was timely for me, but it's timely for these people. They just want this information. And I'm getting such positive feedback. People just love the information and they're ready for it. And I think that ties into what you said, Ursula, about we're moving into the photon belt, and there's all this light which carries information that is coming in. And people, having woken up and started my journey back in the mid-90s and seeing how things have progressed. I mean, I remember I would work with my intentions and it would take me, a week, 2 weeks to manifest it. And now it's like instantaneous, you ask at night and you get it in the morning. So
that's
exhilaration.
As I listen to your stories, it becomes clear and obvious to me that your brain was being trained and prepared for so many years to be able to decode quantum and huge amount of data, and then bring it beautifully, translate it into our everyday language. So what a gift to catch you as a soul guidance practitioner.
Well, I have to thank you, honestly, because I feel like I had been doing work, for 20 something years, and it was slow. And that's one thing. I was so passionate about it. No matter how painful it was, I just kept going and kept going. And even when I was, if I was depressed or, I had some awful times, like my son was less than a year old and my mom died tragically. And it was just, there was so many dark times, but I kept going. And when I found your information, it was just so, it was so activating, and it was just so wonderful. And I just have to thank you for that, because it really helped me, the way that you teach, it helped me to really hone my intuitive skills. I just feel like it's off the charts now. I feel like I'm getting things, and I'm even getting downloads. Like after my meditations, I get downloads, and this whole project came to me, it's been building, I have a piece of information here, a piece of information there, but since the course, it's really come together. And I have to say, I'm really grateful, because it's your program that's done that. So I will forever be grateful for the course, the extensive work that you put into your course. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I want to take the opportunity and kind of come back to what we talked about before, how the guides, how our star soul family takes a different body shape to not freak us out. And I just want to leave this as a message for the viewers. If you will find yourself in a position when you're facing a spirit guide in a form of a spirit animal, and if you are conscious enough, and you probably will when you're hearing this, you can thank and appreciate them for the shape they chose, and then ask them what is the body shape that they prefer if they didn't worry about your reaction. And then it's likely that they show up, because I recall these in my regression sessions with my clients, when I sensed the humor of the guides, and when we then asked them to change the shape, they changed the shape, and the clients were then ready because they asked for it, so they didn't freak out. So
That happened in meditation. You can do that in meditation too. It doesn't have to be, you can ask before you go to sleep. But when my guides first came as these feline, earthly feline beings, I started working with that energy. And then I do a lot of shamanic journeying for myself, and I do it for others too. But it's one of the, besides dreaming, it's the one thing, the one tool, I should say, that has helped me to clear and explore other lifetimes on other planet or star systems too. But one of the things I want to say is that when I was taking these journeys, he would start out in his lion form, but then as the journey went on, he would took his normal form. So they do transform and go back and forth. And so it helps. Like what you said, it helps if you ask them. I mean, he just did that, I think, because we had been working for so long. So it was really wonderful to see him in his upright, just regal form. It was beautiful. So, but they're there and they're wanting to work with us. And I just can't stress enough that a lot of times they show up in our dreams and meditation. So yeah.
It's a great segue to ask you about the future then, Deborah, as we come to a little bit of a close. What do you see going forward as far as you magnetizing or being available to a particular type of group? Are you looking for more clients who've had an already existing ET contact that you could help move and guide them through? What do you think as far as going forward?
I think I'm drawn to people who are looking to understand an aspect of themselves or an experience that they had. And I have gotten a lot of clients that have that, like they might have had an experience that it may not necessarily have to do with, an ET race or a star family, but they say it and, we'll discuss it. And then I offer a different viewpoint just because of all the research I've done in my own journey. And one of the things that I just want to say about this work is, as we clear our own stuff, as we work on ourselves and clear our own stuff, the more we clear, the clearer we become. So it's really helping clients to understand and clear out these patterns, limitations, and so that they can then open their own energy to be clear channels, to be able to receive the information from their guides and their star family. So I think that's the type of, that's where I feel like I have enough to offer somebody, is to help them see the limitations or the patterns, or if someone had trauma, or I would love to work with people that have had, contact experiences. I have the regression background. I would love to do that. My friend was a QHHT practitioner, and she is a QHHT practitioner, and helped me to when I was wanting clarity on my own contact experience, other contact experiences that I've had. So yeah. So moving forward, I think that'll be important, because I think more of us need to speak up about our experiences so that, we're not looked at as the woo-woo over there, that this is what's happening.
So exciting. I feel so deeply grateful for you becoming part of the practitioners community, and I can't wait for the right people to be guided to this video to then reach out to you and have an amazing transformational experience.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time on the Galactic Astrology podcast. Thanks so much, Deborah Angeline.
Thank you.
And happy birthday again.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.